Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel with myself, Isabella. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Welcome. I'm so happy you're here. Today, we're going to be talking about how to survive. This is my pro survival guide. And with this guide, obviously, when you're a professional dancer, there's many aspects at play. There's the mental side of things and the physical side of things. And sometimes it's, for me, more the mental side of things that gets tough. And so that's also why I'm so passionate about my podcast, A Dancer's Mindset. Follow it on Spotify and Apple. Thousands of people listening. I feel like in the dance industry, the mental support for dancers is lacking. And it's sort of expected when you're in these schools or in these companies, or in these studios that, you just got to get through it, toughen up, have a thick skin, and it's survival of the fittest, literally. But what we have to remember is, and when I was, going through difficult training processes like at the Royal Ballet School and at Vaganova, not necessarily, like at Vaganova, it was just difficult. I used to really try to train myself and do a lot of research on how to actually think like an athlete, how to think very rationally, strategically. Obviously there's a huge artistic side to ballet, unlike a sport, but ballet is as well an athletic pursuit. In that way, you could class it as a sport. On the sports side of things, you need to factor in your mental state, because it's sort of a catch-22, because as a dancer and as an artist, we have to be very in touch with our emotions, be vulnerable, and almost be quite a sensitive soul, and I find the best artists are ones who are so in tune with their emotions and in touch with them, and in some ways have turmoil, because they're just so involved in what they're feeling. That can sometimes get in the way when you're actually trying to do a good job, because your emotions are so heightened. And especially as a young student, because not only are we trying to be amazing ballet dancers, we're also young students who are dealing with our hormones anyway. Growing up as a teenager and being a teenager, it's a crazy time. You are literally crazy. There are so many chemicals going around. And so dealing with that and dealing with the pressure from ballet can be extremely difficult, really, really difficult. Dealing with that and having mental strength is a huge deal. Dealing with mental strength requires support. So listen to things like my podcast, watch interviews. I also do a lot of interviews with amazing ballerinas to sort of inspire you and to see that they've been through it too. But also look at athletes, read about other dancers. I like reading about athletes because it just makes sense to me, and it's a bit more black and white. It's a bit easier to understand them, because they would say, well, I want to win, or I want to get to the top, and so this is how I think. This is what I'm going to do. For example, I read something once, and I spoke about this in my podcast recently, which was like, if you have self-doubt, talk about it. Which was so refreshing, because in the ballet world as well, it's like, oh no, you can't show weakness. You can't show that you're having self-doubt. Whereas I would love it. And I encourage this with my student. Like, if a student kept fumbling their pirouettes in front of me and kept stumbling and kept falling out of it, I would love them to be comfortable enough and brave enough to say, you know what, I'm really sorry I keep falling out of my pirouettes. I'm actually doubting myself in that moment. Like, I know I can do it, but in that moment, I just can't seem to shake the idea of doubt. What if I don't make it? What if I fail here? Which in turn sort of makes me fail. Because talking about it instantly minimizes the situation, as well as it also makes you understand yourself a bit more, because you're processing your own emotions. Understanding that requires knowledge. And so you need to feed that knowledge by reading books, listening to other podcasts. In turn, then you'll be more successful, because you'll be more of a well-rounded individual, because you'll be feeding your mind, helping your mental strength, and of course, working on the physical side in the ballet class. But there is two sides to it. This leads into our next point, which is you've got to have a support system around you. You've got to have a support system, whether that's your parents or your friends or your coach. Now, obviously the relationship with your coach, depending on where you are, or your teacher, I'd say with a coach is a bit easier, because, there's a more of a on a level relationship. I mean, I think there should be. But obviously when you have a teacher in a school, it's a little bit more difficult because they're sort of more in a sort of authoritative position. I feel like nowadays with younger coaches coming up and younger teachers, it is steering a little bit in the direction of we're on a level with each other. Like, sure, of course we're going to push you. Of course we're going to make you grow and help you improve, but you're not sort of lesser than or treated badly, which I don't think is helpful for anybody. But having a support system around you is hugely important for your growth. It's like, even if you were a principal dancer, everybody needs a mentor. Everybody needs support. Having that from the get-go is hugely important. So if you're not sure who that is, it's time to think about it. Is it my parents? Is it my friends? Is it someone else who's not even related to ballet, but they just can listen and understand me? Obviously, this leads into my next point. We need teachers that believe in us. We need teachers that are willing to push us and who understand us. Having a teacher that doesn't believe in you is kind of useless, right? It's sort of like putting the brakes on your goals because you're just wasting time. If you're with a teacher who doesn't support your dream, doesn't believe in you, how on earth are you going to believe in yourself? How on earth are you going to believe that you can make it when the person who's trying to help you improve doesn't? And that just sends a terrible message to you. And so subconsciously, even if, you don't necessarily think about it, rationally, subconsciously, you will start to have a lot of self-doubt. Your self-esteem will be plummeting and you just won't feel good. So if you don't have a teacher that supports your dream and supports you 100%, then it's time to make a change or think about an exit plan. Think about a different school you might want to go to. I think sometimes we get very small-minded and close-minded into what we think we should be doing. Who's to say we should be doing anything? Like, who's to say we should go down a certain route? Who's decided that's how it should be? Like I said, I went to the Royal Ballet School. I've got nothing against the Royal Ballet School at all. It's produced some fantastic dancers, but it wasn't suited for me. And I knew that I wanted better. And I wasn't nurtured or treated as well as, say, some other students in the school, just because I had a lot of nurturing I needed. And the teachers at the time didn't necessarily want to give me that. And so I needed to go elsewhere. You need to be brave and look at the situation you're in, even if it has a name, like the Royal Ballet School. If it's not serving you, then it's okay. It's time to look elsewhere. There are so many schools, there are so many amazing places, there are so many amazing companies that would love to have you, that would appreciate you, that would nurture you, that would help you grow. There are so many dancers, sometimes we look at places like, let's say, the Royal Ballet School, and it's very hard to imagine somewhere else, or us somewhere else. And you have to think there are so many incredible ballerinas out there who didn't train in that school. And there are so many ballerinas who didn't train in the school you're in. And that, do you know what I mean? So you've got to open your eyes and look outside the box a bit and understand that you can make it, but you have to be brave enough to make a change. It's always about choice. Don't settle for something that's not serving you. The ballet life is short. We don't have much time, so we need to make the most of it. Let's go into a few more materialistic things that can help you survive. Those are the more mental side of things and also the training side of things. But now little things like Epsom salts bath. So I used to have a warm Epsom salts foot bath every night after rehearsals, and in school I did this throughout my career because you can also have a nice ice foot bath, especially if it's been a long day. But basically it just reduced inflammation, especially if my ankles or my joints started to get a bit sore towards the end. We were on point so long. This would massively help. Epsom salts bath are a huge part of any dancer's survival routine. And I even suggested to my partner, who's a musician, he uses his hands and arms a lot. And I'm like, get in the bath. It's time. Good fueling snacks is another one. And meals. I find as dancers, especially when you move into a more rigorous routine, whether you're moving from studio classes or private lesson classes to then suddenly in a school, or you're moving from a school to then suddenly a full-time, very, very busy company, you can almost forget to eat, which is horrendous to say, but like when you have rehearsals back to back, especially in companies that just value, let's say, they just get used to kind of going over in rehearsals. Like, this wouldn't really happen in places like Paris Opera, who are, by the book, like it's lunchtime, time for lunch, it's 5:00, we finish rehearsals, whereas in other companies, it can get a little bit blurry, the lines. So having appropriate meals, planning your meals, making sure you've always got snacks in your bag, even if you're thinking, I'm definitely not going to get through all those. I'd rather have more snacks than less and be starving. I never let myself be hungry for rehearsals. No way. Because then you're just not going to perform well. It goes back to the whole athlete thing. You are an athlete. You've got to perform. You've got to do a good job. Make sure you're always fueled so that your muscles are not starving, basically. As soon as you get into a hungry state like that, and as soon as you're not fueling yourself appropriately, your body will start to eat your muscle. And that's the last thing we want. We need our muscle. We want to keep it. I've worked hard to build that muscle. I don't want anyone eating it. So make sure you always have appropriate snacks in your bag. Make sure you have good meals throughout the day. Snacks do not replace meals. And again, it's just about being smart. If you know you have a full day and you're not going to have time to like go to the canteen or go out and have a snack or go out into a cafe, then pack your lunch, pre-prepare. Do it on a Sunday. Plan all your meals. It's literally what athletes do. Like, it can be a little bit boring, but if I know that this meal hits all the targets, gives me some fats, protein, carbs, vegetables, nutrients, then I know I'm going to perform well and I know I'm going to be okay. Because at the end of the day, you are literally a racehorse. You need to deliver the goods at the end. Cross-training, another survival guide. Another thing that's hugely critical is cross-training. And it's literally what my whole platform is, as well as obviously the ballet classes and artistry, which we have a new artistry course that's just come out on the new platform, balletwithisabella.com. It's new, whoop whoop. But basically, cross-training is hugely important for any dancer. Obviously, you can get to quite a good level just by doing ballet, but with the demands of our bodies in this day and age, we need to look after it more. So we need to make sure we stretch at the end of the day, we foam roll, make sure we do our Pilates, make sure we do our floor bar, make sure we do our conditioning. I always like to do things that are sort of ballet appropriate. So for example, for cross training, I do things with spiral movement or that uses the entire body, because I find that things that are quite isolated, it has its purpose for sure. So like if you're into like doing more weighted stuff, it has a lot of purpose. It can really help with the power of your jump, as well as just help your stamina of your muscles, and just build strength. But it's not going to literally help you do a good pirouette. Do you know what I mean? So you need to, obviously, if you do that kind of stuff, you also need to do functional movement that is ballet appropriate, so that when you stand up and you go into your ballet class, it can kind of make sense to you. Because so many times we do exercises, like you may be on YouTube doing tons of exercises, right? But then it's like, I'm doing loads of ab exercises, but like I can't translate it. I don't feel my abs during the ballet. Doing ballet specific movement or movement that is appropriate to your ballet, I think is hugely important for anyone's cross-training routine. As well as obviously you can get on the cross trainer and do stuff in parallel and do the cross trainer for your stamina, do some cycling for your stamina, but that's not enough on its own. So you need to be able to do that and conditioning specifically for your ballet, which is going to make it 10 times more useful for you. You'll feel the benefits much quicker. So if you're interested in classes, courses, live classes, as well as bespoke plans, head over to balletwithisabella.com. We've got tons, and it's a brand new platform. Honestly, it's amazing. I love it. One more thing is a life outside of ballet. Obviously, I've spoken about this a little bit before, but it's also a way to survive, because it gives you perspective, it gives you breathing space, it gives you distance. Because sometimes when you're consumed by an environment non-stop and you're just working, you lose a bit of perspective from it. So, obviously I do a lot of research now on business owners, because I'm also now a business owner. One thing I've seen as well with like principal dancers, but also people who own businesses and who have, high-powered, very, very stressful jobs, is they take regular breaks, regular days where they'll be like, right, I'm going to the beach for the day, or I'm going to my parents for the day, or I'm just going to have a day out with friends today. And it can be anything. It can literally be you going to a coffee shop, you're going to the cinema, but you'll feel recharged. You'll have brain space to then think again about something. Let's say you've been practicing a variation all week, and by the end you're just like, kind of struggling with it, especially because you've been doing it all week, and maybe there's something that's difficult for you. Now, I understand that at the end of the week, if something's still difficult, it's very hard to let go, and you don't want to stop because it's not perfect yet. But that's exactly why you need to give it a rest for a minute and just kind of take a step back and have a day, even an afternoon, but just have a day to just forget it for a minute, then come back to it. And guaranteed, literally, I'm telling you, every time I've done that at the end of the week, I've always made it a point to forget about ballet for a day, forget about anything that's stressing me out so that I can just enjoy something else. Time with friends, time with family. And then when I go back, I feel mentally recharged, physically recharged, and ready and motivated to go again. Obviously, we've spoken about motivation and discipline, and how discipline at the end of the day is more important, because that's the thing that gets you up every day, even when you don't want to. It's dark outside, it's 6 a.m. I don't want to do my conditioning. My motivation is definitely not there. My discipline is. That's what's going to keep me going. But obviously, motivation is also a really, really important thing. And it's helpful and it makes things more enjoyable. So by giving yourself more distance from things when you've been doing a hard chunk, like, 5-6 days of the week, really, really working hard, really, really going for it, then having a day off and then going back, you'll feel recharged and motivated and just better. So guys, those are my top tips. I'll leave it there. But comment down below what you think is a part of your survival guide. Is it a certain type of food? Is it a certain type of perspective on something? A rationale that makes things a bit more manageable for you? Is it a type of plaster? We haven't spoken so much about point shoes. I've kept it well-rounded. I could probably give a survival guide literally 4 feet on a different video. Let me know if you want that. I think we'll do another video actually on survival guide on literal stuff for the body, like feet, injury management, creams, like what to do when you're injured, what I have in my bag, this kind of thing. So guys, thank you so much. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe, because I know a lot of you are watching the videos and you aren't subscribed. So if you don't want to miss another one, click that subscribe button. I really, really appreciate it. And I can't wait to share more with you. So I hope you have an amazing day. You deserve it. Keep going. Keep working hard and you'll get the results. The results are inevitable, guys, if you just keep working, keep pushing, and your progress will shine through. So I'll see you guys very soon. Bye for now.